Hello everyone, this is Mr. Ringo, and today I'm going to unpack the May 2025 TOK question number 1. It's been a while since I've done this, so it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. There will be 2 parts to this video. The first part, which you're watching now, will be free, and you can watch it as many times as you want. And the purpose of this video is for you guys to have a much more informed idea about whether question 1 is the question you guys want to select in writing your essay. Thus, part 2 of this video will be a much deeper dive into the 2 areas of knowledge that is required in this question, and that would be a paid video, and I will post a link in the description below where you guys can buy and watch that video as well if you do choose to do this question. Yeah, most likely I'll upload this video first as an unpack video, and then I will follow up on the paid video later on, so you might not see the link right away when this video is posted. So yeah, we're gonna go into it, we're gonna unpack it, and yeah. Do historians and human scientists have an ethical obligation to follow the directive? Do not ignore contradictory evidence. Discuss with reference to history and human sciences. So that is the question that we're given. And notice something very, very interesting. Throughout this question, the word knowledge was never mentioned. And it is very unlike TOK, it is very unlike IB, because for every single other questions, you are likely going to see the word knowledge. So keep in mind that point, because I'm going to tell you why later that idea is important, because it is a little bit of a trick question that they want to trap you in writing when writing this. So yeah. Now the first word that I will unpack is obviously the ethical obligation. Well, obligation is just a responsibility, and likely I'm not going to think too deep into this word ethical obligation. Ethics is the idea of right and wrong. Ethic is a value system. So what I would expect to see here is that we are expecting both the historian and the human scientist have some sort of value system which gives them a sense of responsibility for them to pretty much take into account contradictory evidence. That's what it says. So I will not want my students to read too deep into this idea of responsibility. I would just take ethical obligation as a must-have responsibility versus a not must-have responsibility. Just take it as that. That's it. The easy part of the question is also the command term do, the first word in this question, do, and the claim and the counterclaim for it is easy. It's just a yes or no question. Yes, they do have that moral, ethical responsibility, or no, they don't have that moral, ethical responsibility. That's it. Don't read too much into those 2 words. But what you really need to read into is the idea of ignoring, and likely not ignoring. Actually, to ignore something and to not ignore something is it's a little different. Let's talk about ignoring something first. Well, in my opinion, there's 3 ways in which you can ignore something. The first way is that you actually have no idea that something is there, something happened, you ignored it completely, you're totally ignorant of it even existing. That could be a sense of ignoring. Or you know something might exist out there, but you don't want to know. That is also ignoring. Or the third one, which is you've seen it. You've seen other things, but you think that those stuff are BS, and you completely disagree with it, so you ignore it. There are 3 types of ignoring, in my opinion. But what about not ignoring? Not ignoring, it is a little bit more difficult, because to ignore are those 3 things. To not ignore, how do you tell if someone didn't ignore something? When your mom tells you to do something, sometimes you will have heard it and basically you don't respond, but later on you will still do it. That's an idea of not ignoring. But you could also go and tell your mom, yes, mom, I will go do that. That is also not ignoring. So in my opinion, the idea of not ignoring has a much more implicit versus a explicit action that you do. A implicit action in not ignoring is that you don't actively acknowledge it, but you have considered it, and that is in a way not ignoring implicitly. Whereas explicitly, you have to say, okay, I know someone out there is saying this, okay, I acknowledge it is, and you're very, very out there, you're voicing out, you've seen this, and so on. Now, the next word here is contradictory. Contradictory, it's opposite, right? A lot of students would just say, oh, contradictory is opposite. And so it is just, different, right? But the word here is evidence, contradictory evidence, right? So while contradictory knowledge could be knowledge that are totally opposite of each other, contradictory evidence doesn't have to be opposite of each other. They could just be different. For example, two people can have the same conclusion, but they read into these evidence very, very differently. So having a contradictory evidence doesn't often mean a contradictory knowledge. So do keep that in mind, because that's very, very important. So basically, as a historian, you could see different evidence, but you can come up with the same conclusion, and that's the knowledge of the historian. Remember at the beginning of this video, I did mention to you guys about, the word knowledge was not mentioned, and I think that's the trap here. A lot of students, when seeing the word contradictory, they're going to find out all these examples about, different contradictory knowledge and not really evidence. And a lot of students will skip this word evidence. Instead, they will replace it with knowledge, and they would have scored a very, very low grade on this question. So be very, very cautious when talking about what is contradictory. And we want to focus on the idea of the evidence. And finally, what are evidence, right? I've been talking about evidence. Well, evidence depends. Evidence depends on the areas of knowledge. And that's where my paid video comes in. I will explore how historians see evidence and what exactly are the evidence that human scientists have or use or to show. So yeah, that's the idea. And I do believe that the underlying goal of this question is to address whether the knowledge produced by historian and human scientists is valid and comprehensive enough. The reason being that, have they considered different evidence and so on and so on. Yeah, difficulty-wise, I think this question is very doable if you take history or if you take something like psychology. This should be a very, very doable question. But if you don't take psychology, I think to understand human science could be a lot more difficult. Yeah. But with that said, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this unpacking video. I will try to find time to unpack every single video for you guys up here. And I will, like I said, I will make a part 2 for every single question, which is a paid video. And the link will be posted later on in the description below. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Hope to see you guys. Hope to see what you guys think about this question. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is Mr. Ringo. Peace.